Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. In this video, we'll be talking about the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation, or the AMOC. Please remember to like and subscribe. Alright, let's get right into it. Fact 1. Warm and cold. The AMOC is really just a system of various ocean currents that exist in our oceans. It is especially prominent in the Atlantic, and as a result, has the Atlantic name in it. However, don't be fooled, it is worldwide. And essentially what happens is, this is a current that guides warm water away from warm areas into cold places. And then as it travels to cold places, sort of going through a heat exchange, if you will, gets cooler and then flows back to the warm places with cool water. So as you can see, it's kind of like the Earth's own air conditioning system, if you will, where it transports hot water to cold places and cold water to hot places. And by doing so, it helps regulate the climates of the areas that the current impacts, and as a result, brings a much milder climate to the Northern Atlantic and also warm climates along the American eastern seaboard. Alright, let's get into the next fact. Fact 2. Extremely slow. When you think of ocean currents and also river currents, you think of fast-moving bodies of water. People imagine that ocean currents, once you get into it, will carry you from one place to another in a relatively fast speed. And unfortunately, the AMOC is not that. The AMOC is really a system of currents, if you will. And so it's not one continuous current flowing through the oceans. As a result, there's dramatic slowdowns amongst the entire travel journey. In fact, 1 cubic feet of seawater in the AMOC can take up to 1,000 years to traverse the entire planet. Yes, 1,000 years. That means, suppose the water, a piece of warm water, starting from the Caribbean, if you will, travels northward and then back down toward the South Pole. That piece of warm water turning cold and then coming back into the Caribbean will take 1,000 years to traverse. Alright, fact 3. Gulf Stream. Most people are familiar with the Gulf Stream that occurs in the North American Atlantic seaboard. This Gulf Stream brings warm water from the Caribbean up the eastern seaboard, bringing in milder climates than it would be if it had nothing or no ocean circulations. And in fact, the Gulf Stream is considered part of the AMOC. The Gulf Stream is simply a component of the AMOC as it travels through the oceans and especially up and down the Atlantic. And so you can see the Gulf Stream, which we already know about, is just really a northern component of the AMOC. And so if there's a slowdown in the Gulf Stream, that would lead to a slowdown in the AMOC. We'll get into it in the next sections, but there are a lot of controversies between the Gulf Stream and the AMOC in terms of how these currents have been fluctuating, potentially due to climate change or some other factors. Similar to Gulf Stream, other components of the AMOC or other streams or other currents nearby continents can also impact the AMOC. Alright, let's get into the next fact. Fact 4. Freshwater impacts. Because the AMOC transports warm water to cold places and then cold water to warm places, seawater and freshwater have a lot of contention here. And by contention, I mean that if there's additional fresh water injected into the AMOC, it dramatically impacts the way the circulation works. And the reason is, for the water to go from hot to cold, it needs to evaporate all the salt and then condense and become denser, flowing down to the deeper parts of the ocean to become cool. However, if there is no salt to begin with, meaning that most of the water from the warm places are already salt-free and mostly fresh water. It will be difficult for the water to circulate and lose its heat and then traverse down deeper into the ocean. If the circulation is mostly fresh water, there is no salt to evaporate and condense the water, and as a result, the circulation may just really fully stop, since it cannot get cold. Alright, let's get to the next and final fact. Controversial. As I was alluding to in the previous sections, there's a lot of controversies between the AMOC, the Gulf Stream, and the freshwater impacts. Remember, the water in the AMOC moves incredibly slow, taking 1,000 years to traverse from the top to the bottom. And because of that, some scientists are skeptical if the AMOC is really slowing down, just like some scientists are skeptical if the Gulf Stream is slowing down. All this is not proven, and we don't know who's right or who's wrong, because it is really impossible to really calculate accurately how a cubic feet of seawater is flowing through the AMOC and if it's on the right path. With today's political and environmental activism, climate change and global warming is on everybody's minds, and the slowdown of AMOC is also another one. Remember what I mentioned about the fresh water? That is a byproduct of global warming from the people who believe in it. And so they're saying, in a direct correlation, the AMOC will stop flowing because too much ice has been melted into the sea and too much fresh water is in the circulation. We'll never really know. Alright, that's it for my video today. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe. See you next time.